Self-healing, in fact, is self-knowledge. Knowledge will set you free from suffering. Okay. And different kinds of suffering, we said. Yeah. The suffering that come from our own karma. That means, you know, we have to experience a certain karma, and we suffer. The suffering that come from the changing world. Yeah. When everything is changing, so therefore automatically we will be suffering because we expect something but things don't happen. So that is come from, the philosophy say, come from the impermanence. Is the impermanence of things. It happened to you, happened to others, things all the time changing. So therefore we all suffering. So that's the second kind of suffering. And a third kind of suffering comes from our condition to be born in the physical body. Yeah. And therefore the body is changing, the body is growing, the body is getting sick, getting old, getting sick and die. Yeah. So that is, there is a lot of causes of suffering. And then we said yesterday that we, Patanjali Maharishi said that we need to prevent suffering. So that misery that can be avoided should be avoided. Yeah, that means knowing our condition, and we are not different than anybody. Sometimes we think, oh, other people suffer, but not me. That's not it. Yeah, but if we become wise, then we look at other people suffer. Why not us? Yeah, what is special about us that we will not suffer? Yeah, we also will suffer. Yeah, not maybe that same situation or a different situation. Therefore, we need to become wise. And we become wise by taking the teaching from the teachers that have known the human condition for a long time, and then they pass on the wisdom to us. And they also pass on the techniques and the methods, how we can alleviate ourselves from the sufferings. And that was the talk yesterday about self-knowledge and self-realization, and the necessity to do sadhana, the necessity to do spiritual practices, yoga and Vedanta practices, in order for us to alleviate our suffering and to prevent suffering. Okay? So that is called self-healing. That means yesterday we talked very strongly about how we have to do it ourselves, and nobody can do it for ourselves. Swami Vishnudevanji all the time said, if you are thirsty, you have to drink for yourself. Yeah? You cannot drink for me. If you're hungry, you have to eat for yourself. So if you want to be free from suffering, you need to find happiness. Yeah? You have to do it yourself. Yeah? People are happy, but you cannot, you know, you don't feel really happy, yeah, if you are not happy. Yeah, sometimes people are happy, you hang out with them, so you feel a little bit better, yeah, but yet you are the one that has to find the key to your own happiness. Okay? So today we're going to talk about self-awareness. So it's a continuation topic. Okay, how to foster self-awareness, how to nourish the knowledge about ourselves or the awareness about ourselves. So I'm going to say a few things. This topic is kind of deep, so we can try. Okay, so number one, if you want self-awareness, That means knowing yourself and not mistaking yourself to be your not self, to be something that is impermanent, that is changing, that is source of suffering. Okay? Because according to Yoga Vedanta philosophy, the self is bliss absolute. The self is existence absolute. It did not come, it did not go, it was not born, and it will not die. The temporary condition of our body does not affect the self. Okay? So we need to distinguish, we call discriminate, between the self and the not self. The body is our instrument and it's not our self. Like you drive a car, the car is not you. You are the master of the car. So you are the master of your vehicle. And the body doesn't come just with the body and the limbs and the organs. Yeah, it comes from, the body comes also, it's a package deal, it comes with the mind. In fact, the body and the mind are very related. Okay? So you have a certain mind, certain psychology. So you also have a certain kind of body constitution. So that's the science of Ayurveda is teaching us. Okay? So the body and the mind are together, but they are instruments of the spirit, of the inner spirit, or of consciousness. So we need to be able to distinguish between what is the consciousness, what is ourself, and what is the body and mind. Otherwise, we make mistake. Okay? So that means self-awareness. And self-awareness, you want to know yourself, you want to be free from that mistake, yeah, that bring about suffering. When you take something that comes from your habit in the mind, your personality, yeah, or the dictation of your body need and desire to be yourself. Okay? If you want to be free from that mistake, you need to cultivate the higher mind. So there's three types of mind. The lower mind, or the subconscious mind that you're not aware of, that mind will bring you to suffering because it carries the past imprints of the past. Yeah, it cannot make free choices. It's only like a tape recorder. It repeat back the past. Okay? And with that kind of mind, you will project a future, yeah, that is conditioned. So therefore, you are facing what we call suffering. Okay? The conscious mind, which is the second mind, that is higher than the low mind, have the capacity to analyze, to compare, and to think about it, to and to make decision. So that conscious mind is better. It helps you to move in the right direction. Okay, but still, the conscious mind can make mistake. So now, the third kind of mind, yeah, it's very rare. That means you need to cultivate the higher mind until you can exercise what we call the intuitive mind. Okay? So if you want self-awareness, it comes from intuitive mind. Self-awareness cannot come from your low mind. Self-awareness also difficult to come just from the intellect, because the intellect is limited. Even though it's higher tool, but it's still limited. Okay? It has to come from the higher mind, the highest mind, the transcendental mind, that mind that transcends the mind, that we call the intuitive mind. Okay? So all the yoga sciences help you to do that, help you to purify the low mind, yeah, clarify the intellectual mind, and eventually lead you to the transcendental mind. Okay? That means leads you to the direct intuition of who you are and what is the truth and what is right and what is wrong. Okay? So we are talking about having insights, having flash of intuitive wisdom. Okay? So normally we are using the chitta, the manas, the ahamkara, the buddhi. These are the 4 components of the mind. Okay? The chitta is the storage of information, experience from past. The manas is the operating computer, yeah, that use our senses to compute. The ahamkara is the ego, the sense of self-assertion. The buddhi, which is the higher intellect. So this is normally how we work. Okay? But the intuitive insight come from the superconscious mind. Okay? So if you want to develop the superconscious mind, what to do? Okay? So I would give you a few hints how to do it. It's not, it cannot replace the sadhana, the yogic sadhana that purify your mind, okay? That elevate your mind, like we said, the 4 paths of yoga. Karma yoga will transmute your karma to a dharma. Okay? Bhakti yoga will transmute or transform your emotions into pure love. Okay? Raja yoga will calm your mind down and bring your mind to meditation. Okay? And jnana yoga will do self-inquiry so that you can reject the unreal or the illusory self. And what remains, yesterday we talked a lot about it. Yeah, if you remove the untrue or the unreal, the changing, then what remains is the truth. Okay, so the 4 paths of yoga will help you to build up your intuitive mind. But now, let's say it's now, and you want to apply, and you, of course, you do the sadhana, yeah, the practices that come from these 4 paths of yoga. But I would say simple. If you have something to think about, okay, think about the problem using your highest mind to think about it, and then let it be. Let it be. That means you need to let this mind set. Yeah, the subconscious mind has to set. All the emotions, reactive emotions, has to calm down, and then even the analysis, the thinking, the pro and con has to calm down. You let it be, yeah, and you let it reveal itself. So the answer will come from within, and it comes like a flash, okay, very fast. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you have to think over it, and it takes years, maybe even, yeah, one day. Wow, now I understand. Okay? So that is the flash of intuition that comes from your self-awareness. Okay? So self-awareness has to come with the cultivation of sattva. Sattva means purity. Our mind that is swinging between rajas and tamas cannot bring you to self-awareness. Tamas is denying the self, veiling the self, inertia, not moving. Rajas is jumping to conclusion, projecting one way of thinking, yeah, and not be able to see the whole picture. So the mind that is dominated by tamas and rajas will not lead you to sattva, purity, and will not lead you to wisdom or self-awareness. So that's why the yogis put a lot of accent, emphasis on the idea of changing your lifestyle. That's why you don't eat the tamasic food, the dead food, the canned food, the rehearsed food, the animal food. Yeah, we become very careful of the way how we eat. We become careful with what we think, what we put into our ear, and what we look at with our eyes, yeah, with our senses, because this will bring in the tamasic impression, the rajasic impression, and will pull us away from our sattva, our purity, and we lose the sense of self, the self-awareness. Okay? So now you understand why yogis take so long, so many years to help you to change these little habits of your daily life. Because when you change these habits into more pure, sattvic, elevated kind of habit, then you stay away from this, self-sabotage idea, self-veiling, mechanism, and this constant desire, projecting something externally and run after it, that create the restlessness, and a lack of peace in our mind. Okay? So cultivate sattva, cultivate a pure lifestyle. Okay? So how do you bring in this sattva besides the changing of food, changing of lifestyle? You need to work with the breath. Okay? So when you are able to breathe slowly and calmly without much effort, it brings you to the moment present. And the moment present is sattvic, yeah, is perfect in itself. Okay? So if you want, later, maybe when we have time, we can talk more about this little change in our life that can bring sattva. Okay? Sometimes we think it's not important, but it's very important. Yeah? Because it's so it impacts the self-awareness. Okay? So now, the number 3, what self-awareness is. Self-awareness is spiritual healing. What that means? Healing has 3 different levels. We talked about that yesterday. The physical healing, the mental emotional healing, and the spiritual healing. Okay? The physical healing is the grossest. Mental healing, very important. But the spiritual healing means the knowing of your spirit. Yeah? Knowing that you are complete, that you are fulfilled, that you don't really need anything, that you are not a dependent, you are like the sun that shines, yeah, independently, knowing that you are the inner Atman that is perfect. Your mind is not perfect, but your Atman is perfect. Yourself is perfect. Yeah. So that is spiritual healing. So we need to come to that point where we function in a connected manner. That means we are not disconnected. Okay? Most of the time we are disconnected, on and off. Sometimes you remember ourselves, we are very peaceful and happy. And then other time, we lose ourselves. We become disconnected. Okay? It's so easy to be disconnected nowadays because everything is pulling us out. Everything will create more confusion in our mind. Yeah. And then with the media, social media and everything. So, before, you imagine a person live on a piece of land and just from time to time, a mail arrive with some bad news, good news, whatever. Then the person get upset, and they live in a very small circle in the village. But now our life nowadays is not like this anymore. It's super fast. Yeah. And everything is fast, fast, fast. All the news come all at once. And everyone feel that they have to say something and do something. This is another thing. Yeah. Everyone think that they are the expert. They are free to give their opinion, right? In the internet, you're free to give any opinion you want on top of your head, even though you are not expert. But the voice that go into the virtual world and nobody can control it. So everyone has a voice. So the world become very noisy. Yeah, very crowded and very noisy, because maybe before the wise people talk and other people follow, but now everyone is wise without being wise. So everyone say something. Okay. So what I'm saying is we need to go through the spiritual discipline in order for us to connect to our spirit. Okay? And that is self-awareness. We can trust that. We can trust a person that is going through self-discipline, spiritual discipline. They become much more aware. These people become much more aware, yeah, of what they say, what they think, and what they do. So how to apply this? How to apply this idea that self-awareness is spiritual healing? Okay? Things that you can do. I try to make it very simple. To try to diminish the ego that feels separated. The moment that you feel separated, you are not functioning on your self-awareness level. You are functioning out of your ego. Okay? And you become alone, lonely, separated. In the experience, you need to try to connect somehow with a larger reality than yourself. Okay? You try in your vocabulary, try to use the word we instead the word I. I separates, we unite. Okay? So that will bring you closer to the experience of spirit when you say we instead of I. When you refer to people in your daily life, try to see their spirit, their soul, their Atman. Try to refer to God, the universe, the mother nature, yeah, as it is something very obvious and not something that you remember, you pray from time to time. Yeah. Know for certainty in your mind that there is a level of life that is perfect, that doesn't need to justify itself, doesn't need to modify or change. Remember, you are able to do that. Just turn within and remember that place of perfection within yourself. Okay? You can teach people around you, yourself first, and people around you to turn within and to trust it. Okay? So in the beginning, it's much more difficult to trust our spirit because our mind led us very often time to the place of disillusion, of doubt. Yeah? When we fail many times, then we start to become doubtful of ourselves. So that in itself is a lesson that we can learn through, you become aware of our weakness that bring us always to the same place. Okay? And but there is the inner voice within us that guides us to the right place. And we need to develop the listening to the inner voice, not the listening to the mind and the emotions, but to the inner voice, and start to trust that voice. Okay? So that's how you foster self-awareness. Now, this idea is a kind of complicated, okay, but I say it anyway. Self-awareness and God awareness is the same. Okay? For some, it's very difficult for them to think about self-awareness, but they can think of God. They say, God did this, God did that, I surrender to God. That they can do. But to affirm the sense of self and to say, this is my inner self, this is my Atman, this is myself, is very difficult to do. So eventually you will understand that the self with the big S, the Atman, and God with the big G, are the same. So when a person talk about God, they are most likely a bhakti yogi, the person that depends on God's grace and mercy. They cultivate devotion, okay? And they accept, they surrender, and they accept. They don't blame, they don't have feeling of guilt, they don't have feeling of anger. Just a moment, please. Sorry. Okay. So if you cannot talk about self, then talk about God. If you talk about God, then it's easier for you, clearer for you, then it's fine. You can talk about God. And then many different aspects of God, not there are many gods. There's only one reality, But that God, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. So therefore, you know, in Hinduism, for example, they want to show that God is everywhere in many qualities and all names and all forms. So then you have different deities, you know. So I went to India many, many years, yeah, and get exposed to all this. But then sometimes like it's overwhelming. Yeah, there's for example, one form of goddess, and then you go to another temple, is another form of goddess that is holding something different, or that she's wearing a dress of different color, her hair is like this, so then she has a different name. And then people say, okay, I go to worship at this temple because she's like this and she's like that. And then another temple, like so many different variety of deities and of forms and of gods. And then sometimes you say, okay, it takes me so long to understand who is Krishna and who's Devi and who's Shiva and who's Ganesha. Now you come up with another new name. Now is Subramanya, Yappa, and this god plus this god equals this god. And very complicated. But in that experience, you expand your idea about God. Yeah, you become more tolerant. Yeah, you become more how you say that, uh, less fanatic. Yeah, that there is only one way to talk about the truth. Your mind is get used, like you become multi linguist. Yeah, a person that has many different. They can talk in many different kind of language. Yeah, so they don't make fuss about this and that. They just, you know, changing language. Okay, but the main thing is the communication. It's not so much the language. Okay, so the same. Yeah, so you have an idea of God, and please understand that is self-awareness. I talk slowly because all these thoughts are very big, very powerful. So when we say God awareness and self, big S, awareness are the same. Okay? So if you have God awareness, you have devotion in your heart, it leads you to the same place. That is self-awareness. That is the highest intuitive vision or insight about the truth of this life. Okay? The truth about yourself and the truth about this life are all the same. So, um, how do you define God? God can be defined as the not I, not me, not I. Anything else, everything else, yeah, is God, not I. Why? Because the Bhakti Yogi, or those who follow that way of thinking, and they make themselves very small, humble, very small, teeny small. God is big. God is big. Like you go to these different temples, the temples are so big, so complicated, so intricate, so beautiful. And you look at this, and you become very small. When you become very small, then God is, and guess what? The self is. That means in itself is the way to find the true self. When the small self become very small and God become very big, then the big S, the self, the Atman, yeah, the consciousness, the awareness, the ground of being, that become very real, very apparent, very big. Okay? So if you feel very separated, very lonely, very in pieces, discarded, you can remind yourself the idea that God loves you. Yeah, God loves me. I am not alone. Okay, so that again is the path that's easier to tread, the path of Bhakti Yoga that will lead ultimately to Jnana Yoga. Okay? So you try to see the presence of that mysterious unknown, yeah, force that is always there in your life, mysteriously make this and that thing to happen. Yeah, that's something that actually is serving you all the time. Yeah, you are not aware of it, but that something is making things happen to help you to learn. Okay? So the more that you be aware of God, the hands of God is everywhere. The more you feel the heart open, yeah, you feel the flow of grace go through your heart. And that is also at the same time, you are increasing in self-awareness. You are increasing in the knowledge of your true self. Okay? So I tell you one story that might be helpful. Is you know the story of two sets of footprints on the sand. And then at one point, one set of footprints disappear. And the devotee talked to God. And the devotee asked, why, when I need you the most, you let me down? You're not there. I'm alone. Because the devotee see there's one set of footprints left. He thought that is his or hers. Why, when I need you the most, you are not there? And God answers and says, no. You have mistaken. When there is one set of footprints on the sand, yeah, this was my footprint. Yeah, these footprints on the sand are my footprints. And at that time, I was carrying you. Okay? So the set of footprints on the sand that are left, God's footprints, and he's carrying the devotee. So that means when you feel the most let down, the most lonely time, the most confused time, when you turn around and you don't understand what's going on, and you can see these days, it's very much like that. Everyone is so anxious. We don't know where the world was going to go. Yeah, everything kind of changed with the pandemic. And also the end of the year and a different idea of this and that create a lot of confusion. Yeah, but at that time, if you apply this story, at that time, God is carrying you. That means, you know, when you don't know anymore what to do, where to turn, that time you are like the baby in the hands of God. You surrender your idea that you know, and that time God can do a lot of miracles. Okay? So, why? I'm not quite sure if you can understand the idea because it's difficult to understand. Because usually when we are in control, when we know what we are doing, when you think that things are the way how they are. This is here because it's this. This is a cup and this is an iron cup, come from Japan. When our mind is very clear about everything, what we did not know is we have lost ourselves. When things are clear, everything is settled, yeah, we are not so expanded. We are not so high, yeah, so subtle, so sensitive. Okay? And in that time, things can get very disturbed. Things change, will become disturbed very quickly. We forget what is important, what is essential, what is not essential. So we forget. But when things are difficult, when we don't know where to turn, nothing works, right? Like almost like this time nowadays, nothing works. We make plan, our plan fall down. Yeah. At that time, we surrender. We are forced to surrender. At that time, God works. We open up to the presence of the divine that always have been there, but we forgot. So that is God awareness or self-awareness. Next idea. I hope it helps. Self-awareness is also self-acceptance. That is a very big idea. Okay? You want to know yourself, you need to stand to accept yourself. Not acceptance of the imperfect self, the ego, different idea of who you are, but acceptance that on another level, we are perfect and untouched by all what is happening. Okay? So there is a level of acceptance. We are no longer reacting, we no longer complain, we no longer, say, what if, and why? We all the time ask like this, right? Why? Until when? When this is going to change? When I can come back to like before? Why this happened to me? Yeah. So all these questions, when we cease to ask them, when we surrender or we accept, yeah, then we become closer to the self, to the big S self. Yeah. So acceptance is an important step towards healing when there is no more preference, either this or that. We have plenty of preference. The idea that I like this and I don't like that. But when the person becomes more self-aware, they accept everything and love everything. There's peace and contentment. This can happen only when the person gets out of his or herself ego self, and is relaxing internally in the eyes of the maker, or when they experience the love deep within their own self. So how to apply this idea? Remind yourself not to reject anything, not thinking that something is better than what it is now. Okay? We call the practice of equanimity. Limit yourself from running towards something or away from something. If you have the impulse, strong idea that I'm going to run away from this, I have enough, okay? Avoid to say this thing, yeah? Because the perfection is just right there, but you're not seeing it. You have become victim to your mind, yeah? So don't allow yourself to say this thing, yeah? I reject something and the other thing is better. I'm going to go somewhere that is better, okay? This is an illusion. So you need to accept. You need to come to the point of acceptance that actually the perfection is right here now. I don't have to go anywhere. I just have to control my mind, not to go toward the preference, toward the idea that I like this and I hate this. That's it. If you feel pain, because we run away because we feel pain. If you feel pain, physical pain or mental pain, emotional pain, dissolve the pain in acceptance. All the healer, all the teachers say that. Yeah, they even give a scientific explanation how when you accept the pain, it feels better. You accept the pain, you breathe into it, you relax into it, the pain goes away. Or it dissolves slowly. That which is very terribly painful for you is no longer there. Okay? So self-awareness is self-acceptance. There is nothing better than the moment present. There is nothing in your life that is to be rejected. Okay? Everything in your life is perfect by itself. And then self-awareness can happen when we stay calm. No effort, no fight. Everything is perfect as it is. Okay? So you can practice the kind of yoga that will bring you to that relaxation place. Take it easy, because sometimes, some kind of yoga, you make too much effort. Okay? So you need to relax into it. And the next point, I will answer some questions that people have later. Right now, I just want to list out different ideas. These are different concepts that we can work around. The idea that if you accept things, the self is closer. You'll be able to feel the self more if you accept. If you don't blame, you don't hate, you don't reject, you don't run away. Yeah. You just accept everything as actually perfect. You remember that perfection, then you are closer to the self. Okay? Now, another idea, very big idea. Self-acceptance is self-love. Very big idea. Why? What we suffer from self-rejection, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-care. Yeah, we have this tamasic and rajasic lifestyle, lack of self-care. Self-love turns the love that is addressed to others to the love of one's own self. So usually we love others, but we don't love ourselves. Right? And when we love ourselves, oftentimes we're pushing some agenda of the ego. So we are not really loving our own heart, our own true self. So we have a lot of patterns of attachment and disillusion. Okay? There is no contentment. So we need to start to fall in love with ourselves. And cease to expect that the other people will love us. If they love us, fine and good. It's God's grace coming in our life, but we don't try to guarantee it. Okay? So how do you apply that self-love? Try to detect the patterns of attachment. If you excessively attach to something externally, it's a sign that you are lacking self-love. I repeat again the sentence. If you excessively get attached to something external, it shows your lack of self-love. Okay? So today I help people to do the spiritual diary. And one of the, out of 7 things that they can do every day, one of the things is mauna, or the time of taking silence for yourself. Okay? So you need to take time for yourself. That's part of the self-love. Take care of the body. Take time to eat, to enjoy life. Give self-appreciation words to yourself. And learn to appreciate others as well. Okay? So it's not arrogance. It's not thinking that you are better than others. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to be self-confident and self-appreciative. And be appreciative of others as well. Seeing the self in others as well. And when you do so, when you are having that self-love, you are not comparing yourself with others. When you compare yourself with others, you are lacking self-love. You are lacking self-acceptance. Because what you can compare is only external. But when we talk about the self, the Atman here, the true self, is always there. It is beyond comparison. Why? Because it is one. It is the truth, essential truth that is one within you and within others. So scriptures say, one without a second. I mean, there is no second to compare with. To compare something, you need to have a second thing to compare. But the truth of the Atman is only one. One without a second. Is perfect in itself. Therefore, if you want to aspire toward that, stop comparing. Stop looking outside. Stop thinking that something is external is better than yourself. Yeah. But turn within. Stand first. You have to turn within. Find that peace, that self. Assert that peace within you, that self within you. And then you can grow into living with others and seeing them as your own self. Then you have less problem. Okay? So how do you apply self-love? Avoid wasting energy on something you cannot change and be ready to change something that needs to be changed and know the difference. Okay? So that is a famous quote. Yeah. Try to accept things that cannot be changed. Be ready to make change where you can, and then know the difference. So you love yourself, so you don't want to waste your energy. Yeah. There's something about us that we don't love ourselves. Because sometimes we waste so much energy on the same mistake. We repeat the same mistake. We waste so much of our energy. We get very old, very tired, very worn out. And we don't love ourselves enough in order to say, enough is enough. I want to save my energy. Because I love myself. Huh? And if you really love yourself, things that need to be changed, change. Don't resist. Don't argue. You love yourself. The self is true, is real. So have the courage to change. And know the difference. That's the wisdom. Don't make mistake. Don't do the reverse. Change the things that are, essential, and get confused. So that's why you can see that you need You need a lot of meditation. You need a lot of guidance. Okay. So we're coming to the end here soon. And then I take the questions. I see there are many questions. Self-acceptance is self-surrender to God's will. We talk about that already, but in a different form, different words. I say the different idea. It's self-surrender. We said earlier, self-awareness is self-acceptance. But now I say self-surrender to God's will. Okay? So how do you apply that? A few hints. How to apply the self-surrendering to God's will in order for you to come closer to the true vision of who you are. Number one, suggestion, adopt a policy of no complaint. Adopt a policy of no complaint. Everything is perfect. Number two, adopt the smiling attitude. Try to be cooperative and to be flexible. Adopt, another idea here, very big here. Adopt the idea that there is no other. Everything is our own self. There's nothing out there. There's only the self. There's no other. Same idea that there is nobody to compare to. Nobody to seek for. Nobody to wait for. Remind yourself of yourself and let go of control. Remind yourself and others to let go of that fear that comes from attachment. So self-surrender also means that. Not being attached. Let go of fear and anxiety. And share with each other different stories of grace. That means what? You don't expect that to happen, and it happened, and it's perfect, and that is grace. So when you do this, and when you try to look around for this, then you come closer to the self. The next point, and the last one, I think so. Self-awareness, no, not yet, is relying on Mother Nature to heal and to do what she wants. That means to know that the Divine Mother, or the divine energy, we call the Divine Mother, knows what it knows. Knows. So sometimes we forget that. We over worry about our own body And what happened to our body? What happened to us? We overprotect our body. We, instead of knowing that there is a divine intelligence that is working through our body and it does the job. We do our duty, but there is the intelligence also that is doing the job of healing, of cleansing, of supporting. Yeah. And that you need to accept that. Not accept, surrender to that. So it's not like you neglect yourself, but there is a level of faith that you need to apply in our life so we don't get, aggravated for a little thing. So I don't know. Many people suffering from fear, anxiety, out of the fear of catching virus, So we have to replace fear with faith. Okay? Doesn't mean that you are disregarding all the rules of hygiene and everything. Right now, it's a big discussion, huge discussion going on around the world. Yeah, is it we should worry about this and not worry about that. But we will have to trust. Trust who? There's one lady that is so worried that she has COVID. And in the middle of the night, she wants to go to hospital. Then I look at her with my best of my capacity of intuition. And I feel that she's okay. But how do I tell her not to worry? Because she's so worried. So I tell her, ask yourself. I told her, ask yourself, are you going to die? Because with that worry is a fear of death, right? So I turn back the question to her, are you going to die? Ask yourself. And she said, I want to go to the hospital. She's fixated on that. She has no time to ask herself, I want to go to hospital. But there is the hospital nearby, there is no COVID test. So if you want to go to hospital, she did go to that hospital, there has no COVID test. So in order for her to go to the hospital that has COVID test, it takes her, she has to book a car, a taxi, a car, or whatever, and she's had to travel 3 hours to another nearby town in order to have the test. And then she, a little bit, hesitating, all the effort and money, yeah. So she didn't go. So she decided not to go. But then nothing happened really, But I believe that she did think about this after. If she listened a little bit to herself, then she's not going to die. She's not going to be, terrible sick. And everything is okay. You see? So who are we going to trust? You go to the doctor. Are you trusting the doctor more than yourself? So many cases. So you have to do what is necessary, but you need to also listen to yourself. The self here is the mother nature. That means the divine energy that is keeping you, your body alive, that is doing the work to keep you alive. So you surrender to that. Okay, so the last point, not before last, it's about faith. How to apply increased trust in yourself and others. Okay, so in order to have faith, you need to start to have trust first. Trust in yourself, trust in others. Try to avoid excessive suspicion and anxieties. When you eat, for example, eat with faith that the food is nourishing you. Pray before eating. Bless the food and bless the cooks. And how do you do else to increase our faith? Keep around you a reminder or image, a picture of the indweller. Bring with you this picture or this symbol where in places where there are inner distraction, where there are a lot of distraction. For example, when you travel, easily you can just get distracted. Or you can carry with you your mantra that you repeat internally with faith. Or you can carry the books or the teaching of your teachers. Okay? So you need to cultivate courage, because courage helps you to break your boundaries and your limitations of self, and it brings you to that self. So a lot of us get limited out of our fear. So we don't expand ourselves. So self-awareness also bring in the sense of self-responsibility. Okay? So that means that you have to do what is needed. So we say to trust the Divine Mother that work through you for your own self-healing. But at that same time also, we need to take responsibility of our life, of our body, our life, our existence, why we need to live this life, why we need to be healthy in the body in order for us to fulfill what in our life. So if we ask these important questions, then we come closer to the awareness of the self. It's part of the whole idea are linked together, is part of self-love. Because you love yourself, so you want to not waste your energy, and you want to take care of things when you need to take care of. Because you want to face your karma. That means the lesson that you need to learn. Yeah. Why? Because you love yourself. So you don't want this thing to drag. Yeah. Because if they drag and you don't face yourself, you don't have the courage to change, then it takes away all your peace of mind, your energy. Because you love yourself, so you face your karma, you take responsibility, you don't blame others, and you bear and you accept because you love yourself. The immortal self, the Atman, is deathless. It cannot die, birthless. It is the karma that is playing out. Once you understand your own karma, when I asked the lady to ask herself, is she going to die? Basically, I asked her to ask her own intelligence, her indweller, is her karma finished yet? Okay. And when the answer is said, I said, no. That means the body will continue to carry on the karma. The karma playing out in our life. Once you understand that, the individual becomes ready for anything and find peace. And become closer to the self. When you find peace, when you accept your karma, when you're no longer afraid, you are coming to closer to the truth of yourself. Okay, so these are sharing some idea. So now I'm going to take some of the questions that you wrote. So many people are here. I did not talk to for a long time. Narayanji, hopefully he's still here. Okay, somebody asked, how can we distinguish between the inner voice and what is just coming from our subconscious? So that's the point. If you don't know, if you get confused, then at that time, use your intellect. Use the middle mind. Think about this. Okay? Don't listen right away to the inner voice, because you might not know, you might not be able to distinguish between your subconscious mind that is very loud and your inner voice. Sorry, I need to put something in my throat. Some piece of lemon, honey. I've been talking all day long. Okay, so, okay, clear? If you don't do sadhana, if you don't have the habit to practice self-discipline, then most likely the voice is the voice of your subconscious, because it's 90-95%, it's big. But if you already practice, do a lot of purification, there's a chance that you are in the middle, and there is maybe the higher mind that is speaking. At the same time, the low mind that is speaking, and then you are confused. At that time, to be sure that you don't make mistake, then listen to your middle mind. That means your intellect. Because the intellect is higher than the emotions and the subconscious, intellect is lower than the intuition. You cannot access the intuition, most likely, so use the intellect. Okay? It's not easy to listen to the inner voice. To be able to listen to the inner voice, you have to have a habit of being yourself for a long time. Okay. Jagatamba. So she's saying self-awareness is God awareness, is awareness of the big S, the awareness of reality. The Jiva on the journey to the Atman through remembrance of Ishvara or God. Then we can realize the Atman and Brahman are one. The non-duality, the self becomes the big S self. We truly have self-awareness. Hope that I understand right. It's sometimes, you know, it can be confusing. Yes. Okay. Because we don't have access to the self, so we need to talk about God. Okay. You need to remember God, see God around you, see the hands of God everywhere, learn to surrender ourselves to God's will. Then eventually, you know, the true sense of the Atman can be revealed. Okay? So somebody asked, give us the most easiest technique that will help us to look within. No. Yeah. Give us the easiest technique so we can apply to help us to look inward for a beginner like myself. The simplest, easiest technique so you can look within. Okay, I give you the simplest and easiest technique. Guess what? What is the simplest and easiest technique to look within? Breathing. Breathing. Okay? So if you get confused, take a moment, maybe close your eyes, sit down, don't move, because you move, then the mind would move. So be very quiet, keep an asana, and breathe with awareness. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. When you feel very tense, exhale double, longer than inhalation. And then the whole mind will calm down.